Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Get in the Herd After Hours. I'm your host, Alex Bond. Get in the Herd is a recovery podcast from the McShin Foundation. Again, I'm Alex. I am a peer leader at the McShin Foundation and a house leader over here at Clark House, spitting distance away from our headquarters. And more importantly, a person in recovery from substance use disorder. I'm here with three lovely ladies, Dixie, Kelly, Mary. How are y'all doing?
Doing good.
Wonderful. Dixie, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Okay, I'm Dixie. I'm a person that's also in recovery from substance abuse disorder. I'm an alumni at the McShin Foundation. And there you go.
Happy to have you. Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm also a person in recovery. Excited to be here.
Very excited to have you. And Mary.
Hi, I'm Mary. Also in recovery, McShin alumni from quite a bit ago, but yeah, happy to be here.
We're happy to have you on. So one of the cool things I think about y'all three ladies is not only are all three of y'all friends, but you kind of have a wide variety of amount of clean time between y'all. I'm pretty sure, Kelly, you're at 11 months. Dixie's at just over 2 years. And Mary, you are celebrating 6 years tomorrow, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start with you, Mary. 6 years. That means you started getting clean at how old?
20 years old.
How did that happen?
I was getting into a bunch of legal trouble and I was really bad off. And I got into a fist fight with my sister, actually. Well, before that, my family forced me into McShin, and then I didn't want to be clean when I was 19. And then this time I really physically hurt my sister and court ordered me to be in recovery. And then I didn't want to be there, but later on found out I liked it by just staying.
So this ended up being your first time in recovery?
When I was 19 in 2012 was my first time in recovery. And then August of 2013 is when I got clean this time.
Okay. Kelly, is this your first time being in recovery?
No, not really. This is the longest amount of clean time I've ever had. Is this last 11 months, but I've been trying to get clean for about 2 years.
For about 2 years, and I guess what changed this time around?
This time around, I was just really done with letting myself down, I guess. I kind of learned that I really don't have what I thought I had all those times that I would get a few months at a time. And I realized that I need more help. I needed a sponsor, I needed a network, and I actually got to experience those things. And this is the first time I've been in recovery using those tools.
And I'm glad it's working for you this time. Dixie, is this your first time in recovery? What brought you here?
Yeah, it is I would just want to correct you really quick. I have 18 months, not 2 years. Not very.
Whoa, excuse me.
It's okay. But yeah, it's my first time actually in recovery. I'd been using for like 9 years, about 8 years before I came in, and I had like spurts of being abstinent, but never like in recovery. Where I'm from, they don't offer like anything related down there.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a rough week before I came in. I overdosed multiple times in 5 days. So my family kind of came in and did an intervention on me, and they were like, "This is where you're going," and I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not going nowhere." And then after like a full-blown mental breakdown and a talk with my sister, I decided to come, and I went to McShin, and I was like, all right, I'm only going to stay 30 days to make my family happy. And I ended up actually liking it. So I stayed in the recovery houses for 11 months until I moved out, and I'm still here today.
Awesome. I wanted to ask, this is kind of an open question, but I was talking with Joyce earlier on the afternoon podcast, and she said that she didn't really have any close relationships with women prior to being in recovery. Is that a similar thing for any of y'all ladies? I mean, how has it been having to like, get closer and trust other women while trying to trust this whole process at the same time?
I think Mary were having a conversation, I believe it was, where it's like the last time I ever really had relationships with women was when I was in high school, and you know how that goes. It was a lot of like back and forth, or a lot of like people talking about each other. So then when I graduated and stuff, and when I was using, I didn't have relationships with anybody. So then when I came into recovery, it was kind of difficult for me to learn how to trust women, because I always reverted back to when I was in high school and had those expectations on a friendship, which clearly weren't high. So it took me some time, but that's probably the main thing that I cherish most. It's like the women that I have in my life, like these two, my sponsor, a few others. Like I felt like a lot of that is has been really important and a big part of why I've stayed clean.
Is that the same for you, Mary?
Yeah, I've had girlfriends when I was using, and I mean in general, friends when you're using aren't your true friends, but I always got screwed over by those females, and so I had this negative taste in my mouth for female friendships. And it honestly took me a number of years to be able to trust women. Like I still have guys as best friends, but the connections I've made with women, I don't really know how to describe it. It's just different, and you need these women in your life to show you how to be a woman. So you need women with more clean time than you that, have been in recovery longer and know how to be, a mom, a woman in society, a good friend, like a family member, to show you how to grow up and be a woman. And the Dixie and Kelly both are pretty much like my sisters. Like they've turned into family, not just female friends. So I think it's really important, and it's changed a lot in my life that I've gotten close to women. And I think it's also important to be picky with the women you choose. Like I didn't just decide to make random women my best friends. I mentally went through it, and then we got close.
Yeah, Kelly, have you had to cut off certain women or anyone in general from your life because of that? As Mary was saying, I mean, you gotta kind of pick and choose the people you surround yourself with. I subscribe to the fact that you are the company you keep. Have you had to do that, and what's that been like, if so?
I think kind of similar to what they were saying, as far as before recovery, I know a lot of my relationships, my friendships with women, like what Dixie was saying, aren't really, we're from high school, and a lot of those friendships contributed a lot to my insecurities. And I think, like, when you come to kind of learn about yourself and accept yourself, you can surround yourself with people who do the same thing. And I think first coming in, you're so like excited and like craving that connection that you make friends easily. I know there were a lot of people that I got really close with right away. A lot of women, especially since I did the recovery house, and I lived with a bunch of women who were, had a lot of the same goals as me. And you kind of learn, just like anything else, really, that, sometimes it's not really about like just craving that, like wanting that friendship. It's about the quality of the friendship. And so I haven't even really had to cut many people off, but I feel like they kind of just fall off, and you have to just kind of like roll with that, accept it. So I've lost some friends to basically just some of the decisions they've made, and it, at the beginning it hurt me a lot because I was attached to them, and then you kind of have to learn to stand on your own, and then that's when you meet the best friends, because they're standing on their own too, and you guys just kind of get to like hold it down together.
Mm-hmm. That's what I found with a lot of my relationships, at least with whoever. I mean, even I still hang out with people who use, but they're not addicts, and they're usually pretty mindful of that. And there's a very big difference between me hanging out with drinking buddies and buddies who drink, if that makes any sense. I still have a lot of close friends who would, give anything for me. And they're also mindful of that. So I don't necessarily subscribe to cutting off anyone in my life just because they aren't addicts like I am. So all three of y'all, did you meet in recovery or prior to recovery? I mean, I know that you three are, I think, quite possibly in the exact same location right now. Am I lying? Are y'all pretty close?
We're in the same house.
Okay, you are in the same house. So Dixie, you and Kelly are roommates. Dixie, have you always lived with people in recovery, and how does that help or hinder? Because I know there can be a lot of feelings getting tossed around. Post moving out of a recovery house, have you consistently lived with people in recovery, and what's that like?
So before moving into a recovery house, when I was using, I never lived with people in recovery. It was always people that I used with, which never worked out well. And then I lived in the recovery house for almost a year, which that went pretty great. I actually liked it. And then weird, I knew our other roommate, Jules, but I did not know Kelly. So when I moved in, like, I knew of Kelly, but I didn't know Kelly. So it was kind of like, oh, hey, how you doing? And I feel it's worked out pretty well, in my opinion. Me and Kelly get along really, really great. We have for the most part, the same group of friends. We like doing the same things. She loves my son and adores him and is really great with him. I feel like we're like a little family. Mary, if we're going to be honest here, I did not like her at first. And I don't think she liked me either. But we didn't know each other. We had literally no reason not to like each other. She just looks mean, and so do I. So we never like approached each other. One day we were at a recovery house, and we didn't speak for like 20 minutes of us being in the same house. And finally she comes up. She's like, hey, I'm Mary. And I'm like, nice to meet you. And then after that, we've just been super duper tight. So yeah, I'm still close with a few of the females that I lived with in the recovery house. A lot of the women are not around anymore. Some of them are. I still talk to a few, which I feel like, I mean, when you live in a recovery house, especially for that long, you build crazy relationships with people, and you grow up in each house together. So, and you grow in this program together. So I think it's really, for me, it was really important to keep in contact with them because they were a major part of my journey. They showed me the right way, or sometimes they showed me what not to do, Yeah.
You mean like you could watch how they're moving and operating and see, oh, maybe I should do that, maybe I shouldn't do that. I
Right.
know, at least for like, say example, like my little brother, he learned a lot from me solely by saying, oh, my older brother is doing things that I should not be doing. So he learned a lot from me just by watching me fail and do things unsuccessfully. So Mary, with all this clean time, have you like what do you do for fun? What sort of hobbies? I mean, do you do the same things that you did before recovery? Do you find new things? I mean, what do you do for fun with all this extra time and money that you're not spending on using?
On drugs anymore.
Exactly.
So I don't really know how to answer that question the best. Like the best way I can describe it is I built up this group of friends and we do everything. We've gone to, what is that place called? The little golfing range thing. We go to the pool. We've vacationed together. Like the three of us just went on a trip together. Most of my time is spent going to meetings, being with my sponsor, or being with people in recovery, like my group of friends in recovery. We kind of just do anything and everything, but we do it together, and that's what takes most of my time, other than working Monday through Friday to get the money to not spend on drugs. So I don't really know if it's like all these different hobbies I have. My hobby is kind of just being with this little family that I've built. And actually, Kelly and I have known each other for quite a long time, back in high school, and we were not friends, to answer your question from before.
Okay. So Kelly, how did you have to bury that hatchet? I mean, Dixie was kind of explaining about this, and I don't want to be judgmental, but I'm pretty sure that females have a way more passive aggressive way of communicating with each other. Like, oh, I love your shoes, and then it's like, oh, this shit is on right now. Like,
no, okay, so this is actually pretty funny. I don't even really remember so Mary and I grew up in the same area. We went to different schools, but we had a lot of mutual friends. Like we kind of ran with some of the same people. And I really don't think the beef was ever directly me and Mary, but like our friend groups, because like we mentioned before, some of these friends that we had in high school weren't like the best people. And so I don't know. I remember specifically like Mary and one of her friends destroying someone's car at a house that I was at. And like, I don't know, just like, I'm pretty sure we like may have like almost fought each other at Shore Pump Mall sometime or something like that. But I don't even know like what the issue ever really was. But somewhere along the way we resolved it because I found a Facebook memory that was like really old, and it was like, so glad that we squashed our beef, but I still hadn't talked to her in years when I came into the rooms, and she was already, really like, she was already so she was doing so well, and she was like, had the recovery thing in my eyes. I was like, she's fucking got it together. So by the time I came into recovery and I started coming into the rooms, and it was that awkward, like we definitely know each other, but I don't know, we were like totally different people at that point. We weren't the same people that used to beef in high school. And so I'm glad that it like brought us back together.
So I'm glad you squashed your beef because y'all are a nice little cute little family. One of the other things that I've seen or noticed, it's at least something that I like talking about, is the judgment and the stigmatization of being an addict or otherwise known as someone with substance use disorder. Is this image of us that's attached to it. I think you three are very lovely, smart, attractive, well put together females. Does that image almost deter or distract from the fact of, say, when you're sharing or trying to emphasize your story or destigmatize what a personified drug addict looks like, or kind of like how is dealing with that conflicting, I don't know, image, Dixie?
I don't know. I was just having a conversation over the weekend with actually a CO at the jail, and he was asking me how I've been doing because he knows I'm in recovery and stuff. And he was like, it's crazy when I talk to you and stuff because you don't look like an addict. You don't look like a drug addict. And I'm like, well, thanks. I don't know, but I feel like we don't have to look a certain type of way or anything. Like I'm an addict for sure. I'm very open about it. Like everybody at work knows I'm an addict. Like I don't hide it from many people. Either you're gonna think a certain type of way about me or you're not. Either way, I don't care. It is my story, and I believe if it wasn't for what I went through in my life, then I wouldn't be who I am today, and I'm pretty comfortable with who I am today. So,
Is that something that you subscribe to, Mary? Like, did you have to overcome this, I don't know, judgment or anything like that? Like, I don't know. I see certain people in meetings, and I even myself, I'm like, that person's a drug addict. Do you have that sort of judgment sometimes, or am I alone in that? Or
I feel like it's our human nature that we're judgmental, and we judge people within the first like 60 seconds of seeing someone or hearing someone. I think that I get judged a lot because I don't look like a typical addict in, what some people's version of an addict is. And in my family, actually, it was on one side of my family, on my dad's side, it's so looked down upon that we don't even discuss that I'm an addict. I'll tell him like when my anniversary is coming up, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you," and then that's it. Never wants to come to a celebration because he doesn't want to be around those kind of people. So I get judgment from my family, and then I feel like I have gotten judged in the rooms that I'm not an addict because I didn't go through some things that some people did. I didn't hit like certain lows, like being homeless, that other people did. And like Dixie was talking about with her work, I think 3 people at my job know I'm an addict, because if my job knows, then it's pretty much in jeopardy, because being an addict is so looked down upon by some people.
no, yeah, I know people who were really I don't know, worried about doing something like this, honestly, because they were like, oh, I might like lose my certification or my license or something like that. And I think it's 2020. It's getting destigmatized every day. We have reclassification and decriminalization laws popping up all over the nation because I think people have a different opinion on it in general. But I do want to double back real quick. So even after celebrating going on 6 years of recovery time consecutively, your parents aren't really as supportive as they should be, or you'd like them to be.
My mom is the biggest supporter. She's probably more like protective of my clean time than I am. When I'm at home or we have like a family dinner, no one's allowed to drink alcohol. She's constantly asking me about my recovery, asking if I've been to meetings or I remember one time we were driving and this song came on. It was like talked about getting high, and she got really upset that I should not be listening to that kind of music because it might make me want to relapse. So my mom's side is really supportive, and my aunt was actually an alcoholic and had 20 or 30 years before she passed away, not in a direct result from using or anything. But my dad's side, my dad is actually Muslim and is from another country. And so they are very, I don't really know how to put it.
It's just a completely different culture. I mean, I've worked in an Afghan restaurant, and they're like, I was a bartender at an Afghan restaurant, and they were like, if our family found out that we even served alcohol in this restaurant, we would be completely ostracized from our family just for selling alcohol. So I think I understand where you're getting at, Mary.
It's more of an embarrassment.
Yeah.
That an addict, even though I have 6 years clean, it's an embarrassment, and he doesn't like to associate with those kind of people.
Yeah, and you know, that just makes me think of the whole, like, I don't know. I think it's very powerful and courageous to be vulnerable, but other cultures may not perceive it in the same way. So I'll plead maybe ignorance on it a little bit for my lack of understanding. But I also think, you know, it's not easy. You do a great job. You help out a lot of people, and I think there are plenty of people out there who would say the same thing, Mary. So yeah. Kelly, what about your family? Are they supportive of your recovery journey of getting back on the horse?
Yeah, absolutely. They've always been super supportive. They're actually like a huge reason why I wanted to get clean initially. I mean, because I've always been very close with my family, and I've only ever had one family member that I've really seen go through something like substance abuse and getting clean. So my family didn't really understand, but I could tell that they loved me enough to learn about it, to accept it, and to be proud of me now. So, I mean, I spend a lot more time with my family now, which actually I thought would be kind of hard because they all do, drink, and I didn't really want. I thought I was going to be like making them uncomfortable by like now being clean and coming around, and I didn't want, they've done so much for me to get there that like I didn't want them to feel like bad for, enjoying themselves around me. So we've definitely, the relationships have changed, but I think in a good way. And, my mom's super supportive. She's very, we talk every day now. She gets really worried when I don't respond to her, or don't talk to her. But I mean, I think that's kind of just part of everything she's been through with me. So,
mine too.
yeah, like, I mean, you just can't, I know that it was hard for her too, and that she's got things that she needs to, she's got to get a lot of trust back, and she's always been really open to the idea of trusting me again, and she's always believed in me. So, I mean, I have really great family support.
Good. That is wonderful to hear. So now one of the things I wanted to ask or talk about is Dixie. So being in a relationship in recovery, is that like an easier thing or a harder thing? Because you get your feelings back, but at the same time, I see it as like so I don't have to like hide this other side of me anymore. You know what I'm saying? So like being a self-identified alcoholic since I was like 18, I always felt like I had to like kind of keep that a bit of a secret. Like I had a dual personality or something like that. But I feel like being in a relationship in recovery comes with all this added, like, I don't know what to call it, emotion. Could you elaborate on that and what that's like? Is it easier? Is it harder?
So,
don't worry, we'll all be answering this question. You won't be alone here.
I've always been a pretty emotional person. My whole life, I feel like I'm not as angry anymore, so that's actually been helpful. It's good. It's good for me because like he is also an addict, so he understands. Whereas like when you want to go to a meeting, like when I want to go to a meeting and he doesn't, or he wants to go to a meeting and I don't, it's not like why I have to explain to him why I need to go to a meeting. Like if I say I need to go to a meeting, he understands I need to go to a meeting.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I think I like it better than being in a relationship with a normal person, but I've never honestly been in a relationship with a normal person. It's always been me in a relationship in active addiction. So, I don't know. Like I said, I feel like I've always been emotional. I handle my emotions a little bit better. I'm not off the wall flipping out like I would be in past relationships because I was using. It's a bit of an adjustment, but it's been going pretty well.
It's been going pretty well.
Just a little bit.
Mary, what are your thoughts on this? What's dating like in recovery? Is that easier? Is it harder? What are your thoughts on this?
Do you want like my brutal
I want you to be as
honesty
honest as it gets.
Oh boy. Okay. So for those who don't know my dating history, it's a very long list with a lot of poor choices. And if we're going to be really honest, to help people in recovery, I've dated and other things with a lot of what you would call newcomers. And so I've dated like a couple guys who aren't in recovery, and it was kind of difficult because they don't understand why, like Dixie was talking about, like that I have to go to meetings or that I'm constantly with my friends in recovery. So I'm not the biggest fan of dating out of recovery. But also on the other end of that, dating in recovery has been quite difficult because I am 26 with 6 years clean. There's not many people anywhere near my age, my clean time. And I have learned the hard way that when you have a decent amount of clean time, or even, actually, no, just dating people that have not been clean for very long is very difficult. Because I'm in a lot different of a headspace than someone who's just getting clean. Like I've had all this time to work on myself and go through the steps and become a better version of myself than when I'm dating people who, I'm not going to say how much clean time, they're just getting their emotions back and they're just getting drugs out of their system and they don't even know who they are and their emotions are all over the place. And so my dating has not been great. I actually, let's get even more honest here. I've been in really, really bad relationships. I had a year and 2 years clean, and I was dating a guy that, recovery house romance, because I was in a co-ed house at one point, and I dated
That
this
sounds
guy.
healthy.
It was super healthy. It was fantastic. Not a crazy show at all. And I was clean, and 6 months into our relationship, he started getting high. And was high for about a year and a half of our relationship. Would get high, try to hide it that he's clean, but then keep getting high. I was going to the dope man with him. I was giving him every dollar I made while working. I was getting like mentally and verbally and emotionally abused. To this day, I'm still messed up from it. And so that's like one of the downsides of dating in recovery is, what if that person relapse?
Mm-hmm.
And then I dated another guy and actually was engaged at one point with someone I met in the rooms. And they ended up drinking and using drugs again. And it got physically abusive. So as you can tell from all of that, my dating history has not been great. And I think it's mainly due to poor choices of men.
Well, I appreciate that you own up to that. It's not like oh yeah, I just get so unlucky with all these with these guys. I mean, there's I hear a lot of accountability there, and I guess with the whole maybe dating someone in recovery thing, at what point do you have to just like cut your losses, and then at another point you know what I'm saying? Like at one point you start enabling them compared to like trying to help them. I just feel like that's a very dicey scenario to be in.
What I've discovered now, after especially the engagement I ended, I've gotten really good with friendships and relationships if what they are doing is negatively affecting my life. Just like they're going to get you high before you get them clean. If someone is bringing my life down and negatively impacting me, I know it's time to call it quits. And if they relapse, like that's a little different than someone continually using. And if someone's continually using, bye. I got to save myself.
No, absolutely. That's very fair. Kelly, what about your scenario? So what's dating and recovery like for you?
I mean, I know that dating and recovery was like the one thing that everyone talks about when you start getting clean is like, stay away, like, men stay away from the women stay away from the men, like women stick with women, because I don't think we know really what we deserve. I don't think we know what we necessarily bring to the table in a relationship, or like what we really want. We just kind of get all of these feelings back, and we want them to be like validated, and we want to, we're addicts. So, we like things that feel good. And so, I mean, I know when I first started getting clean, like I got caught up in relationships for sure. And like, I think I definitely convinced myself that I was being smart about it, or that like, I was doing it the right way. But I mean, I know I struggled with like holding on to relationships that really weren't like feeding me in any type of way. If anything, like I was just, they were making me feel worse about myself because they weren't working, or it wasn't like, it didn't meet expectations. And you kind of, I know that I couldn't like, it was the codependency part of it that, you can't really distinguish like, okay, this isn't working, I need to do what's best for me. It's like, I have such a big heart, and I just feel like, if I keep trying, like it's gonna work, or like, you're like things are gonna get better. And it just, I don't know, it's kind of like you have to figure out when to let it go. And that's hard to do in early recovery, because you have so much more to be like learning about yourself than like, I mean, I definitely feel like I learned from a lot of the relationships when I first started getting clean. I mean, within these like, last couple of years, like I've learned a lot from the relationships that I've been in with other people. But I don't know, there's just so many better ways to do it, and so like when people say not to get into relationships super quickly, it's really only because like, you don't know who you're bringing to the table yet, and so I know I definitely learned the hard way a little bit. But I don't know, I feel good about myself today, and I don't really regret it. So live and you learn.
Yeah, I think that is one thing that I've had to become good at, is humbling myself and learning from my mistakes. A lot of times I'll do the same things over and over again. And I also want to kind of like double back and say, even though, say, for example, Mary's being told or judged on not having the lived in experience, or being homeless, or the rock bottom, but that relationship experience is still like valid experience that can be utilized and used in different factions and factors. I know that what you said about the validation thing is really accurate. I can go from a very high self-worth of cocky and arrogant to a very low self-worth of, like I don't know, just thinking I'm not good enough a lot of times in general, or saying like, the girl I'm seeing is way out of my league or something like that. And then people are like, oh, you can't say that. Like, come on, man. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel bad for feeling that way, because I think it's kind of like, I don't know. I see it as sardonic, but maybe it's really my subconscious still trying to mess with me and saying like, you're not good enough. But I try to, my brain tricks me into different things all the time like that. So one other word that popped up that you were saying, Kelly, was expectations. When I was doing step work, that popped up a lot in my fourth step, was abandonment stuff and having way too big of expectations. Dixie, expectations. Did you expect from your, I don't know, first time jumping into recovery that it would be this good? Is it everything you expected? What does it matter? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what is kind of like where you're at now channel to where you expected it to be, or does it matter?
When, like I said, when I first came in, I didn't have expectations. I came in and I was like, I did it to make my family happy. And I did it because I was out on bond. So I was like, ooh, this would look good in court. So, I didn't have expectations at all. I just wanted to do the 30 days and then go back home. I didn't expect to build these relationships or actually enjoy living in the recovery houses or actually enjoy going to meetings. I remember a few years ago, my sister was going to meetings and she would ask me to go with her. She's like, come with me to this meeting. I'm like, I'm not going to no damn meeting with you. Like, what? So, and I'd never been to one up until I came here. So I didn't really know what to think. And then everything kind of just, I stayed and everything just started to kind of fall into place. I started working after I got 30 days and I still work at the same place. Actually enjoy it, believe it or not, for the most part. I have like friends that are females that I actually like. And I live with two women that I actually like, and I have a great relationship with my sponsor. She's like my favorite person ever. I actually have a relationship with my son and my mom and my dad, and I never thought that would happen. My dad just let us take his truck 4.5 hours away to go on vacation, and like, what? I never would have thought that would have happened.
I heard it got stuck.
Okay, we're not going there. We're not. We are not gonna do that. Okay. Besides the fact, I don't know. It's just crazy to me because when I came in, I didn't, like I said, I didn't think I would actually like it. It was just more so to make everybody else happy and make it look good for the courts. And then I stuck around. I actually started to enjoy it, and I got sucked back. And I like where I'm at today. I'm way further than what I was 18 months ago.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it's all about. From what I've heard, is instead of comparing, myself to where he's at or where she's at, it's about comparing yourself now to where you were at. Like the only thing that you can compare is you against you, where I'm at now versus where I was a year ago when I was still in active addiction. Mary, so you've been in this for a hot little minute. What's the best way that you've found, or how do you in general support other women and even men in recovery in general?
So I'm well aware I look like a mean person. Okay, so some people are a little afraid of approaching me, and I come off a little strong sometimes. But someone, was talking to me about it. I don't like sharing in meetings. It makes me very uncomfortable. But like I have been around for a while and I have quite a bit of experience. And so now I'm trying to be better about it, but actually speak up in meetings to share my experience, strength, and hope. And I try to share like things that don't get normally talked about. I feel like a lot of the time you hear about like the same stuff. So I normally just talk about what actually mattered in my life, which is things that don't always get discussed. And a while ago, we haven't done it, because of COVID and everything, but like we used to have big like barbecues in the backyard and we would invite everyone. And I say, like, I know I look mean, but like I try to make everyone feel welcomed, and I try to judge as little as possible. I'm going to a little bit because I'm a human, but I want people to know that NA is for everyone. And I share different aspects of my recovery because it's things that turned me away from recovery in the beginning. So.
No, that's wonderful. And like Kelly, I know that I'm pretty sure you do as well, Mary, as something as simple as driving someone to a meeting can make their day, even if they're just like, hey, can I just get a ride to a meeting? I know both of y'all who are just like, drop what I'm doing. Yes. Because from my perspective, stuff like that helps me just as much as it might help them. Is that kind of your same experience, Kelly? I mean, I like the comparison between you two because 6 years and 11 months, almost a year, is different. But being in and out of recovery, you still get knowledge and experience and strength and hope and all that stuff. So is that your general opinion, or how do you give back? Because I do know a lot of other people contact you with different support in general.
Yeah. And I think that's really like, sometimes I mean, kind of just like anybody, like I feel, like Mary said about maybe sharing in meetings or like sharing my experience. Sometimes I'm not always confident enough to do that. But when I get to know somebody and we can kind of like talk and one-on-one and talk to each other about our experience, I feel like that's where it kind of makes a really big difference. Like just kind of getting to know everybody. Like, I know, we had mentioned, Mary had mentioned, like, being welcoming and trying not to be judgmental. And I think that was like one of my biggest fears, like coming into the rooms was, that people weren't going to talk to me, or I don't know, just things like that, are definitely not the case in NA meetings. But I think just getting to know everybody and like meeting new people and just going up and like being warm and just being someone that they can text or, someone they can call, because it's not easy. We all know, like, it's not easy to call anybody. So, I mean, now that I'm in a place where I'm pretty comfortable with talking to new people, and I'm comfortable with the fact that like I may not know what we're going to talk about, or I may not like have a topic for conversation, but I know it helps to just bullshit until some real shit starts coming up or stuff, whatever. So I mean, I think that's kind of the best way for me, is like making friends, and that like kind of includes driving to meetings and getting dinner, or like going bowling, doing barbecues, whatever, like just kind of helping people, being a part of, like, even if it's not somebody that you're gonna be best friends with forever, it's like you get to kind of be a stepping stone in their network and like introduce them to people, or like I think that's the best way to be supportive, is kind of reaching out to everybody and having a really wide network and having a lot of different groups of friends.
Because I know that's really, really good how you put that. Because when I first came in, I know that I was nervous and uncomfortable and anxious. But the more people made me feel like I was okay being comfortable in my own skin is how it really helped. Like just maybe again, I'm not best friends with some of these people, and a lot of them I am, but those best friends that I have found in recovery are usually the ones that were just like, when you're comfortable in your own skin is when it makes me happy. And so like empowering people to be confident and comfortable with their identities and their personality is a really important facet to me personally. Dixie, last time we had you on, we were talking about grief. And I know that I'm pretty sure all three of y'all went to your sister's memorial service. How have you been dealing with that? And what sort of advice could you give to someone who might be dealing with a similar scenario?
So, man, yeah, they came with me to my sister's memorial. My sponsor also came with me. My boyfriend came with me. One of our other friends in recovery came with us. And it was very helpful for me because my family is so dysfunctional, isn't a nice way to put it. And we had family from like all over that I haven't seen in quite some time came. So that gave me a little bit of anxiety, especially given the situation that brought us all together. So it was really nice to have my recovery family there with me because at the end of it, these people are my family, everybody that came with me. So it was really comforting and it helped me a lot. After the fact, it's weird because when my sister passed away, it was really shocking and it was really emotional and it was really traumatic at the time. Still is. And almost 4 months later, we have a memorial. So it was like reliving it all over again. And during it, it's kind of like there was so much going on that I couldn't really process what was going on, like take a second and like process everything that was happening. And it wasn't until I'm going to cry. It wasn't until we got back. It wasn't until I left my mom's house and we came back to Richmond that everything really hit me, and I just had like a mental breakdown. It's like coming to the realization again that my sister is not here, and it's been like a crazy process. Like it's weird. Like I go to my Facebook memories every day just to see what she commented under. It's talking to her, but it looks like I'm talking to myself. It's just things that I think about every day that I feel like she should be a part of, or that I wish she could have been a part of, and she's not. It's just a weird process. It's uncomfortable, and it's not just me. Like I have to be there for my mom, and then my son, and the rest of my family. But me and my mom talk every single day. She didn't answer me all day yesterday and like half the day today, and I freak out because I'm worried about my mom. That was her baby. That was her favorite out of the two of us. So it's I don't know. I have to talk to my mom every day. That's really comforting for me. Multiple times a day, probably too much to be honest. We like FaceTiming each other at 2:00 in the morning, talking about anything. Honestly, dude, if it wasn't for my network and my sponsor, then I don't know how I would have dealt with this. Like it's pretty weird. And then 2 months after my sister passed away, my great grandma also passed away. And I always said when she passed away, when she passes away, when my nanny passes away, y'all are gonna have to put me in a mental institution. Like that was a big reservation for me. But after my sister, like I felt like that kind of like paved the way to deal with that. But like I hadn't really completely dealt with my sister, so I haven't really been able to deal with my great grandma either. So it's just been a lot. And on top of everything else that's happening this year, it's just a weird year, man. It's just the process is you can't really tell somebody how to grieve or what it's gonna feel like. It's different for everybody, and it's you walk around like everything's fine, and sometimes you might think it is, but most of the time it's not. But if we're being honest here, sometimes I feel bad. I'm like, okay, I'm doing so well right now, and my sister should have been doing this. It's sometimes I just feel guilty, sometimes I'm proud of myself and I feel really bad for her. It's just weird. You have this life partner that you're born with, and then boom, you don't have them. So I don't know. It's just you can't really tell somebody how to grieve. It's like you got to do it the best you can. You have to handle it the best you can, and you have to talk to people or don't talk to them and just be around them.
I really appreciate your transparency, Dixie. Thank you very much. Yeah. But now, before we wrap up, Mary, what sort of advice do you have to the newcomer or to anyone in general?
Honestly, my favorite piece of NA advice is that, like, the thing that has kept me clean is the friends and family that I've made. And then not only just the friends and this little family I've made, is that, when you're using, it's not a great one, it's a messed up one, but you have some sort of life. And if you come into recovery and all you do is like go to work, go to a meeting, go home and go to sleep, or just sit on your couch, like, you're not going to be, this is me personally, but I'm going to say it in a you sentence because I feel like it's probably affects everyone. You're not going to be happy with your life. Like, it's not going to be a life. I think the main thing to having a happy life in recovery is I have this group of friends and I actually go do things. I've built a life to replace the one I gave up. And that's why I like being clean, is I have a happy life, people in my life, things that we do in life, a good life. So I think the number one advice is replace your old life with an amazing one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key to happiness in recovery, at least.
Yeah, I think there's a major difference between abstaining and living in recovery. There's a major difference between being a dry drunk who is miserable and not working for or toward anything, and someone who's actively, consistently progressing in their recovery. I talk to people all the time, and they're like, I'm like, how you doing, buddy? He's like, I'm at a 99. I'm like, not 100. He's like, I'll be at a 99 for the rest of my life because there's no such thing as 100. There's always always a little room for improvement. Kelly, any final thoughts or advice that you would like to give or share?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is like remembering not to focus on making anything look a certain way or, cut that kind of manipulation out of your life, because I know for me that was a huge part of my using was deception, and I was always trying to make something look a certain way to someone, and that's how I lost who I was. So, just accepting what is and
be yourself.
Being yourself.
Dixie, any other final thoughts? Closing remarks?
Kind of like to pick you back off of what Mary said. For me, building a solid network of men and women has been a major part of me staying clean. I had to find some people that I vibed with and that were making the same moves that I was making in the recovery, or making some that I wanted to make and that I needed help. I needed them to guide me. That my friends, dude, God, it's been one hell of a year. My friends have really helped me through it. And then my sponsorship is really important. I'm lucky to have a sponsor that I freaking love to death, and I can talk to you about any and everything, and she doesn't really judge me for the most part. I feel like that's really, really important. And just like Kelly said, be yourself as well. Like, that's really important. Or learn. Sit back, listen to people, take the suggestions, and just sit and chill and do what you're told, or try to stay in position and things will fall into place.
Sponge. That's what I always I try to tell people. So thank you ladies so much for coming on. You is beautiful, you is strong, you is courageous. You're wonderful friends. Dixie, it's great to have you back. Mary, Kelly, thank you for coming on. Todd, big shout out to our producer. Y'all have a great night. And again, get in the herd. Have a good one, ladies.
Bye.
Good night. Thanks for having us.
One thing we do here, we always educate our participants. I want you to leave here after your 30, 60, 90 days, or however long you stay and leave. I want you to be educated about the disease of addiction, about substance use disorders, what you need to do to personally recover. But I want you to know why we don't have the support we should have. I want you to know where all the funding goes, what the thinking is of our culture, why we're the way we are. And just for the record, everybody put their right hand up. I hereby deputize each and every one of you as an ambassador to be a face and voice of recovery from here on out. You've just been deputized. You just became ambassadors of a recovery movement, an authentic recovery movement. What authentic means is by people in recovery themselves. This is our call to action.
Tired of waiting, lost while I'm sitting at home. Dream of a new destination, lust for something unknown. Oh, you better leave it alone. You know, I'd rather get up and go. How long can I lie around waiting for it? Sometimes you gotta walk out the door. No limits, no ceiling, no crown. No pressure gonna hold me down. No stopping till I break every rule. No limits to what I can do. No, well, it's too far away. No border gonna stand in my way. No wall that I can't break through. No